Hey guys, my name's Eric Welander. Welcome to my channel all about building a better smart home in the Apple ecosystem. So Lutron Caseta Wireless has long been my top pick if you're looking to put smart switches in your home, and I think they're well worth their slightly premium price tag. Earlier this year, Lutron announced that they're also adding an outdoor smart plug to their lineup. But is it worth the premium $80 price tag? It's a pretty nice piece of hardware. But let's talk about the details. This smart plug is getting ready to ship any day now, and thanks to Lutron for sending me one free of charge to try out and review here on YouTube with no strings attached. This is my honest opinion. And I'll leave a link down in the description either to sign up to be notified by Lutron when it goes on sale, or once it's gone on sale, just a link to purchase the smart plug. So when I first took this plug out of the box, I was surprised at how massive it is compared to indoor smart plugs. Now, as far as compared to other outdoor smart plugs, it's really not that crazy. But again, if you're not used to that, it will kind of surprise you at first. But the feel of it is just like a nice power tool. Lutron talks about in the marketing for this, in order to ruggedize the plug, they've filled any of the open space inside of it. So it just really feels like a solid brick. Now, speaking of build quality and feel, the square button or light that you see on the front is an indicator light to show if the plug is on, but it also doubles as a manual control to turn the plug on or off. In the past, I've complained about the Caseta wireless switches just not having the best tactile feel, but oh man, pressing this button just feels so good. Now, the cables on either end seem to be really well reinforced, and just they take a little bit of effort just to bend them the way you want, but it didn't inhibit me from doing anything I wanted to with the smart plug. Now, as far as specs go, we talked about it being rugged. It's a 15 amp smart plug that's rated at IP65 for weather resistance, and that's what Lutron says is best in class, and I haven't seen a plug with that high of an IP rating. Now, as far as temperature ranges, it's rated to work from -4 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. That's -20 Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius. So if you're looking for a rugged smart plug, this is, at least right now, probably going to be your best bet as far as surviving all ranges of temperature and weather conditions. Now, this plug does come with a number of requirements. First off, it does need to be connected to a Lutron Caseta wireless hub. Now, if you already have the Caseta wireless switches in your home, you already have one of these hubs, and so you're all good to go. But if you don't, that is something to consider you'll need to get. The wireless connection from the plug to the hub seems to be very good. I've tried it at various places outside my home, and my hub is in the basement in the center of my home, and the connection seems to be just fine. Now, that said, I don't have a gigantic house, so refer to Lutron's documentation as far as the specific ranges of feet. You can also always get a repeater hub if you need to extend the range out to where the smart plug is. But in general, at least from my experience, it's probably not something you need to worry about. Now, Lutron says in their manual that this plug should be connected to a GFCI outlet. That's a ground fault circuit interrupter outlet, and basically that means it's one of those outlets that will trip and cut the power if there's any kind of a risk to a deadly shock or any kind of other problematic electrical issues. And the way you can tell that apart here in the US and North America is if you see those two buttons in the middle of the plug that say test and reset. That, in most cases, from my experience, means it's a GFCI outlet. All of the outlets around the outside of my home are GFCI, but I did test using this plug with an indoor outlet that's not GFCI, and the plug still worked. Just keep in mind that Lutron is saying that you should be putting it into a GFCI outlet for safety reasons. Now, speaking of safety, they also say that the plug should be connected to whatever it's supplying power to at a minimum of 3 inches off the ground. This seems to be a pretty typical safety precaution for these kind of plugs, but it is something to consider is that, if you're gonna bother to install an outdoor smart plug, you probably wanna mount it somewhere and keep it as more or less a permanent fixture in the outside of your home. Lutron makes this very easy on the outside of the plug. They put 2 different options for wall mounting on either end. You have different ways of mounting either horizontal or vertical vertical. Now, before you go ahead and mount it somewhere outside your home, you should go through the setup process with the Lutron app and then make sure that you have proper signal wherever you're setting the plug up. So that's very simple. You just open up the Lutron app and you add an accessory in there. Lutron's done a great job of pushing out support for this product in advance of its launch. So hopefully by the time you get it and then open the app, you should have support there. If not, just double check for your app to be at the latest version. From there, you just assign it a room inside your home. And the beauty of the hub connection with HomeKit is that accessory is then added to HomeKit automatically. So you should see it in the corresponding room right inside the Home app on your iPhone. Now, like any Caseta wireless products, you can also control it with Amazon Alexa or Google Nest if that's something you're into. And one of the cool things, like a lot of other Lutron products, is you can pair it with a Pico remote. Now, if you're not familiar, Lutron makes these little Pico remotes, and they can go on your wall and be mounted so they appear like a light switch. You can also get these little pedestals from Lutron to put them wherever and just make them look like a nice control somewhere on a table. And you can also just have them free and lying around. So they make a version of this that's just a simple switch with 2 buttons for a Pico remote, and that would be the most ideal for pairing it with this smart plug, of course, because it just has an on and off state. But I happen to have a dimmer Pico remote lying around from a previous Caseta wireless switch install, and so I went ahead and paired that with my smart plug, and it worked just great. So, of course, the middle buttons of dimming adjustment and the center button, those don't do anything with a smart plug because all you're doing is turning it on and off, but the top and bottom buttons, of course, do just what you would expect. Now, keep in mind that the Pico remotes are meant to be used inside, so they're not as rugged of a rating as the outdoor smart plug. So, take them out with you briefly outside or mostly keep them inside for controlling this plug. But it's pretty great to have that switch option to control it. So there are a whole bunch of different use cases for an outdoor smart plug. You could use it to control something like outdoor patio lights, maybe a pool pump, or something like holiday lighting. And I went ahead and tested it by putting up some holiday lighting in my backyard briefly, just to make sure this plug worked, and it did just what you would expect. Keep in mind though, this is March, so I didn't really put up a full display outside of my home with decorative lighting like that. But I do have a more long-term use case that you might not have thought of, but could be a really helpful place for you to put this plug as well. So I have lights above my workbench, and this is in a semi-indoor outdoor area in my garage. So that means that here in Illinois, it gets very cold in the winter and very warm in the summer. Even though it's a little bit insulated from the outside, it's still, I've gone through multiple indoor smart plugs that I've tried to use out there for that, and they just they tend to wear out quickly and break, just especially as we have really cold weather here. And then they just become unreliable and unresponsive before they completely stop working. So this Lutron outdoor plug works really reliably with HomeKit and any other automations I have, and it so far has done a great job surviving any cold temperatures in the garage, and I imagine it'll do the same as the weather warms up. Of course, it's not getting rained on in there, but it is nice to have something that's rugged and just meant to last out there, and also just always works reliably. That's one of the things I really like about Lutron is, well, they don't always release lots of new products all the time or quickly. When they do release a new product, in my experience, they tend to work really well. I've not seen yet this smart plug go unresponsive in HomeKit, which is saying something because every once in a while, a lot of accessories do have their issues. But for me, this plug has been rock solid, just like their smart switches. So overall, I think this is a really well-designed, well-thought-through product. I'd love to see Lutron make an option where you have additional plugs on the end to plug stuff into, especially as you're adding it to, say, outdoor lighting. I think that would be a great option. So this plug is expensive, but if you have a specific use case where you really want outdoor smart automation, I think it's a really great product for the job. Yes, you're paying a little bit more, but you're getting something that works reliably and especially is a real benefit to you if you're already into the Lutron ecosystem and have some of their smart switches inside your home. I was talking to a friend recently who's excited to get one of these because he'll be able to automate his outdoor pool pump, and getting some kind of a smart pump for his pool is just way more expensive than just connecting a smart plug to one that's not smart. Now, Now, another really cool product from Lutron is their fan switch. And I did a review of that here on the channel a while back, and there should be a link to that video down below on the screen. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're into smart home stuff. Let me know in the comments below if you have a particular use you're excited about for this smart plug. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.